What's up guys, I'm Jesse from Molding the Maker, and today we're going over how I built the entire inside of my shop and give you a little shop tour of how I set everything up. As always guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video as well. Now let's dive into how we actually built the inside of this shop. So if you watch the other videos, what we did is we have this metal kit that from Versatube that we built our shop. So the outside of the shop is 62 by 24, but the shop itself is only 36 by 24. Now the back of our shop is the office, and you can check out that video above and see what we did to finish the office as well. Now for the shop, we needed to build the walls and frame them. Now in the office, we drilled the wood to the metal. In the shop, we decided to make them free floating. It just made life a lot easier, so we anchored them to the ground and we anchored them into the metal kit in the frame of the building. Now a disadvantage of that is we basically cut in 7 inches of space in our shop, right? Compared to the office is actually bigger because we didn't have to put the 2x4s on the concrete, anchor them down. We just drilled them into the metal studs that were in the metal kit building. But we didn't like how that was. It made things a little more uneven, and for the drywall, it was a pain in the butt. So in this one, we just made a freestanding wall. An advantage of that is we have a huge gap. So in between the front and the back, there's a big gap where it made it easy. So when we ran electrical throughout the entire shop, it made things really easy, having a huge gap between the studs, and then you had a metal stud as well. So it was able to just pull all the wires through, not have to worry about it. Now after everything was framed, we insulated. We had some insulation that came with this kit. It is this white insulation above. You can see it up here where we actually insulated between the office and the shop, so that way we can keep the office warmer all winter long. But we have some of this insulation, and then we had to buy some more as well that we used to fill the front wall, and then to fill this wall, which was the freestanding wall we built in between the office and the shop. We used R13 insulation throughout the shop, so it's 3 inches thick. It's really good insulation, and it is really kept the temperatures at a good even temp. Even with just one small heater, it will get this entire shop to a good temp and just keep it there all day. Now for the front wall, it's a little different. They're not big, thick studs. In the Versatube, there's only 2 inches of thickness. So as you can see up top, we bought some insulation that was just the styrofoam insulation. We inserted them into the panels, cut them to size, and just inserted them in. It was pretty cheap alternative. It's not very expensive. It's about $20 for a big 4-foot by 8-foot sheet. And so we put those in there, and then we filled in some gaps, and they're not very ugly. I gotta go trim back some of that spray foam up top, but they just covered in some of the cracks. After it was insulated, it was time to do the drywall. So we threw the drywall up, but we wanted to do the middle section on the 2 side walls with plywood. So as you can see here, this is a 1/2 inch ply, which makes things easy just to hang, whether it's the wall control, whether it's tools. It makes life easy to just put a screw in, throw something up, and you're good to go. And you know it's not gonna fall, and you don't have to worry about hitting studs, anything like that. So we have 4 feet of drywall at the bottom, 4 feet of plywood, and then another about 3 feet or 3.5 feet of more drywall at the top. Unlike the office, we didn't texture the walls in the shop. It's a shop. It's not something that we wanted to be super concerned with, and to be honest, the seams aren't nearly as good as in the office, because the office we took a ton of time, and in the shop we just wanted to get done. We just, you know, it's gonna get dirty, it's gonna get scuffed, it's gonna get smashed around moving wood. So for the most part, we just wanted to get it done functional and still look good, and it does. We threw up the drywall, we mudded, we filled everything in, and painted. We painted the walls actually a drywall gray, which I didn't realize that until after I started painting it. It was almost the exact same color as the drywall itself. But we painted the drywall. We then went through and painted the plywood green to cover up all the seams and to make it look a lot more finished. We added some trim along the border of the plywood and the drywall. We also added trim all around the doors. As you can see, when we talking about that free floating wall that we added, you see there's another 3.5 inch step out from the door. So we added trim all the way around. It looks really good. At first we thought it would look a little weird having it jutted in like that, but we really like the way it looks, and I'm a big fan, so I'm glad how it turned out. So one big thing that we were concerned about was making sure we had enough light in here. So we maybe went a little overboard, but we're really happy that we did. So up above us, we have 18 4-foot LED lights. I got these off of Amazon. They're very cheap, but it helps a lot. I just put a piece of 2x4 across the entire beams, 12-foot 2x4, since there's 6-foot gaps in between the rafters or the trusses. So I screwed them in, hung the lights in one light in between each rafter, and then we have 3 different rows. Now each row of lights is controlled by its own switch, so that way we can control which ones are on. Like if I'm just passing through or doing something small, I'll just turn on the middle ones. And I have a 2-way switch on both sides of the doors, from the front door and also where the office is, so I can turn that on at all times. And then we have the 2 side ones are also hooked up over here to lights as well, or to light switches. Now to heat the shop up, we did put a small heater up here. It is a 220 heater, it's electric, and it works really, really well. When I bought it, I thought it would have a remote. Most of them did, the ones I was looking at. This one was a little more powerful, so I went with this. And it was still pretty cheap. It was, I believe, $150 for the heater, which is not bad. It didn't have a remote, so I can't reach it up there, which is a stupid design. So I had to add a box that is able to have a remote with it that can turn it on and off. So I screwed the remote to the wall right here, and I can just hit on and it will turn on the heater, and it'll heat up the shop within 30 minutes. It is at a good temperature. So that's pretty much how we built the inside of the shop. Now let me give you a tour of how I set things up. We're gonna start by the front door. This is just my paint rack. We have all my glue, all my paint, all my stains, brushes, and rollers, and kind of, you know, the ins and outs of just little things like the WD-40 and whatnot. But this is where we're storing all of this. Now we have an electrical panel back here. We moved the gap so we can actually still open the electrical panel if needed without moving the entire paint rack. I threw up some hooks over here so I can hang my Calavera Leatherworks apron. And also we have our light switches that control the side lights as well, as long as the lights on the outside of the shop. So over here we have our little welding area. Now this is something that is new to me. If you're new to the channel, I'm a beginner welder. I'm getting more and more into it. I really enjoy the process, and it's a fun trade to learn. Now in my last shop, I didn't have 220 hooked up for my welder. This ESAB Rebel is a 220, but it can run 110 too. So I was previously using in my garage just a 110 outlet. So we put in 220 here, so the ESAB can be powered with 220, which allows me to do higher temps of heat and things like that, which is really nice. This work area is perfect for our welding bench, and it gives us some more space up front that we can build things or throw it on the floor, or we can roll some workbenches over. But this is our small metal working area. So over here we have our wall control with all our metal stuff. We got Armor Tool clamps that are auto locking. I absolutely love these. They work really, really well. We have our grinders, some flap discs, everything that we kind of need, our files, we just have on this wall along with my gloves. And then here's our tank that we keep strapped to our workbench, so that way it's secure and it's not gonna fall over on us. Then moving over just a little bit, we have my jointer. I love this Grizzly. It's the most expensive tool in my shop, but I absolutely love it. It's a big bed, and it works amazing. But we have 220 hooked up for that as well. So we have 220 here, and we have 220 on the welder over there. We have this wall control with a lot of my clamps. These are all my longer clamps, my Bessey parallel clamps that we use for tabletops, things like that. But our wall control holds all these clamps really easily. And my joiner had to be stepped back this far anyway, so it just made sense to be able to hold all these clamps. I don't feel like I'm losing any space at all because this was all dead space anyway. So this works really well. Now over here we have a little island. This is my planer, my DeWalt planer. This thing is a beast for if you're looking for a good planer that's bigger than just a standard lunchbox planer. This is a good step up. Plus you can put a helix head on this, which is one thing I want to do in the future. I have this planer cart that got welded up, and it has worked really, really well since I've set it up. We have these beds that we installed on them, and it makes the wood completely flat and I don't get any snipe off of it. It's pretty awesome. We have an Armor Tool workbench over here, which makes things easy. As you feed the planer through, you can just pull it out, put it on the bench and keep going. So that way I'm not trying to, balance it on top of the planer or anything like that. So I like to have a bench over here. Plus, these are so movable that you can just move it around to any area that I need. Like I mentioned previously, I love having the plywood on the wall because I can just hang things. So I have a lot of my jigs on the wall, including the Rockler crosscut sled. I have my homemade router sled up top. And then here's a couple more jigs that I have. The only thing I don't have hanging up is my homemade giant crosscut sled. That is just too heavy to pick up and put on the wall, so that just stays on the ground like that. And over here I just have a simple rack. I have some live edge that's just too big to store, so it's sitting there. Got a mortiser that I don't use very often, to be honest. I have some batteries back here for my DeWalt tools. And I have my Kreg Jig Foreman, which is probably the coolest pocket hole system out there. There's some other brands as well, but this one has been a beast for me. I got a grinder and a sander down below with some extra wood, and then just some storage tote as well. Now we have power on this wall about every 6 feet, which makes life easy because almost every tool can be plugged in easily, and we have 4 outlets on each one, so I can keep most of my tools just plugged in. Now here is the Delta drill press. I absolutely love this thing. It is a beast. It's one of the prettiest tools in my shop too. It just looks awesome, but it has been very functional and something that I use almost on every project. We have my Rockler router table over here. I need to build a case underneath so I can actually store things without it looking like a total mess, but this is a router table that has been very useful on a lot of things like trimming out cutting boards and things like that. I installed this floating shelf up here so I could have a TV, and it's just nice having that in the shop so I can play music or do a podcast or YouTube. Here's my Delta bandsaw. I'm not sure if this is exactly how we're gonna keep it, just because I'm gonna have to move it in and out. I need to get a mobile base for it. Just if I have something big, I can't be by the router table or I can't stand right where I want. So I might have to get a mobile base or build a mobile base so I can pull this out a little bit as I work. But we'll see. This is where it's going to be stored. We have my Delta dust collector that is just sitting here for now. This is the small dust collector. A little later I'll show you where I'm going to build the final dust collector, and it'll be a closet and it'll be a bigger one. This is the smaller one. I actually love it because it is the same size as a shop vac floor space wise, or maybe just a little bit bigger, but it is nice and easy just to wheel around wherever I need. And the Rockler setup, just the quick connect, makes life super simple. And over here I just have a lot of storage along with some of my power tools. I have my drills and drivers, my brad nailer, my sawzall, and then just some storage. The storage was on sale at Home Depot. I keep a lot of my other tools like my circular saws, my jigsaws, things like that in there. It just keeps everything more clean, which is one thing I want to be more organized in this new shop. My last shop, I was not organized. So I really want to be more organized now. So that's going to help. I have a tool chest right here that with all my, hand tools, my pliers, things like that. Down here, I have a lot of my sanding sheets, my Mirka sanding discs, the Abranet and the Iridium. Over here is where we're keeping just the Mirka for now. I might keep it under my table saw or by one of my tables that I'm going to be using for sanding, which will be my armor tool benches more often than not. Now up here I hung a ton of my Boss hammers. These hammers are absolutely awesome, so make sure you guys check them out. I love these. So I hang those along with my levels, my woodpecker stuff, and this just keeps it all organized and in one area. Over here we have my wall control with some of my smaller clamps. These are my L-bar clamps and then some of the smaller parallel clamps. Now this is one of my favorite tools in the shop. This is my miter saw. Now eventually I'm going to be building a miter saw station with some more cabinets. I need still some more storage things or storage space. But for now it's just on this mobile base that I have hooked up to my shop vac. But eventually I'm going to have the dust collection be running this way, along with having a miter saw station across. Up top we have my biggest lumber rack. This holds a ton of weight, and it has been very helpful to keep wood off the ground, but also more organized. With our tall ceilings, it works really well. And in the middle of my shop is the center and the focus. It is my table saw. This is the Delta 365152. It has a 52-inch cutting capacity with my 2 outfeed tables as well, which I use my armor tool benches for that. So it's my assembly table, but also my outfeed table. Now this whole area is mostly storage. As of right now, I need to get some sort of system to store, more stuff, whether it's my paint sprayers or some extra tools or, the spray shelters, things like that. I need more space for that. And as of right now, this is just how it's going to be. But I'm looking at some different like lev rack systems, stuff like that, to store some more things. Now right here, I am going to be building a closet. Now this is where the dust collection and my air compressor will go. I already have it set up with power that is on a switch, and so I have 2 switches over there with 2 outlets that they're hooked up to, so I can just come over once the closet is built. I can just come over and turn on my dust collector, and it is good to go. And I'll have it piped to every tool that I want, but that's a project for down the road. Now along with the closet, one thing that I haven't completed is the trim along the bottom. Now I got some rubber molding that it's a 5-inch rubber molding that I'll be putting along the entire base. It's just I haven't been able to do it yet. I needed to move out of my garage, need to get started on some projects, so that became priority. Eventually I'll go through and put in a trim piece so it finishes up that bottom and looks really nice. The other thing that I'll be doing is I'll be doing the floors. I'll be sealing the concrete with a wet look concrete sealer. I already bought it. They're really easy to do, and they only take about 4 hours to dry. So we'll be doing one half of the shop, moving everything to the other half, doing this half, and in one day we should have the entire shop sealed up. Now that the shop tour is done, you guys have seen how we built it. Let's get to building. I've been in your waters. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, hit the like button below. Make sure you subscribe. We're gonna be doing a full overview from start to finish video of the shop, so make sure you check that out. We also have some other projects coming out, like building an overlanding van, which is going to be a ton of fun. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. I'll see you guys later.